of errors. Everything's an error. Also, it's only getting the top of our heads, but who gives a shit? Okay. If there are open seats next to you, please scooch in. We have people on the wall, and believe me, this isn't good enough to be worth standing on the wall for.
There's some seats over here.
So I do have sources. Wait, here. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. We do have sources. I used the Prima strategy guide for Pokemon Yellow to make this panel, so you know it's legit. I am also a certified trainer in Johto. I got the badges. I didn't actually beat anyone up for them. I just bought them at a con a couple years ago, but that's the same fucking thing, right? Like, yeah, like everyone else. Well, I mean, I also made some out of perler beads, but those aren't worth it. No, Ash didn't do that. Gary did, but he bought them on Etsy, and we cover that in 5th Gen Isn't Pokemon. Okay, so let's see. So before this panel starts, we need to decide what is and is not canon, which is, of course, decided by us, the panelists. So if you think it's canon, it might not be. So what is canon in this panel? Pokemon Red is, because Pokemon Red was for the older brothers. Pokemon Blue is for the younger siblings, so it's not canon. Pokemon Forever is canon. The other Pokemon movies are not. They're fanon and have nothing to do with the series. Pokemon Gold is canon because, again, it takes place in Kanto, and it was the older brother game. Younger siblings got Silver, which sucks.
Sounds like something.
I'm really glad that we're pissing them off now. It's going to really get it out of their system for later.
They have no idea how much worse this is.
Okay, so the next pick is a little controversial, but I think it really helped flesh out the universe, and that was, of course, Pokemon Pinball. And finally, to fill in the gaps, we used the universal lore that is Jackie Chan Adventures. Because I had to shoehorn that reference in somehow, and I forgot to remake the other slides that did that. So that, I think that's going to work out for us. This is a good structure to base a panel on about Pokemon. So let's just Pokedex check.
So we're going to start by just bitching about a Pokemon, and we're going to start with Gardevoir, which, aside from being a nondescript, overly sexualized character, also has the ability to create small black holes, which is interesting because that means it literally can destroy the planet, and it's not even a legendary character, which offended us because that's the job of CERN. If we're going to destroy the world, it better be through copious amounts of international funding and an utter disregard for, comical errors.
I think we have a question real fast. Okay, what did we do wrong?
Actually, it was proven throughout many tests that Gardevoir's powers is physically not possible because...
Yeah, of course it's not. Because
destroy the Earth. She's not opening a void. It's just tearing a small tapeworm into...
I mean, I too can watch game theory. But that doesn't mean I'm going to cite it as a source. Game theory isn't canon. It's just some guy in his basement making Five Nights at Freddy's videos. Oh, it's closet. You're right. Closet, basement, they're the same thing. It's where you all live.
Also, just as a disclaimer, we are fudgy with facts, so.
Fudgy's a nice way to put it. Huh?
You're forgetting about Professor Oak radiation. The black hole would just dissipate or destroy the world.
Yeah, this panel isn't about just Gardevoir's black hole. We have more like Pokemon's role in society. It's pretty important to, what role do Pokemon play in the society? Because the games really define them in a lot of different ways. So we're going to start with pets. Okay, so this is a public service announcement. Your pets totally know what you're doing in your room in front of the computer. Don't do that. It's gross. So, it's in front of me because this is all like slides leading into slides. Okay. Not having presenter view is the worst thing that's ever happened in my life. So, Pokemon are often viewed as pets in the universe. In fact, a lot of them are based on the structure for pets, and pets are great. I like a cat. I don't like cats. They give you toxoplasmosis. I like dogs. The problem is, where you have a cute little cat and crawl on your keyboard, the Pokemon World equivalent does not do that. He destroys your keyboard. and presumably threatens you. No, it's not. It's this. Yeah, there are a fuck ton of cats. I'm using this one to prove my point. Because what's important here is that my point makes sense. Huh? No, it's gonna fuck a whale lord.
Max gets really frustrated with citations, so I wouldn't push it.
Okay, so as you can tell, this is a very destructive pet. I generally wouldn't trust a 10-year-old with something so destructive, but that's the culture in this society. Is you turn 10, and they give you a monster who, if their flame goes out, they die, and can start forest fires. But if you're actually 10, you can't even take care of fucking goldfish. So,
But to be fair, the farm that those dead Pokemon are going to has got to be wonderful. And beautiful.
I think the kids go to the farm, not the Pokemon. Like in our world, it's like, sorry, little Timmy, but we had to put Lassie down. In this world, it's sorry, Growlithe, you accidentally killed little Timmy. I'm gonna put you in your Pokeball forever now.
Little Timmy went to boarding school.
There's no boarding school in this game.
Yes, there is.
No. In Red Blue? No. Okay, we're gonna get over that. We have every city mapped out, all the infrastructure. We already went over what is canon and what isn't. This is canon. Anything else is bullshit you made up to make yourself feel good. Okay. So, in addition to that, I wouldn't trust a normal 10-year-old with a monster capable of doing things. Since this is what we do with our actual pets, we stream them on Twitch playing Pokemon.
To be fair, though, that's a great Magikarp impersonation. I'm sure that beta fish can do a great splash.
I think he's just upset he's a beta fish and not an alpha fish. Like, he's just like, why am I such a loser?
That's why they're so angry.
Hey, I did that in a stand-up routine once and it went pretty well. It was mostly a bunch of school shooting jokes. Okay. So, what's next? We have Pokemon as
Labor. So we've pretty much established that Pokemon as pets is a horribly just bad idea. But if you look at the Pokemon world as it's laid out in the canon that we made very clear at the beginning of this panel, please. Pokemon are used to do everything from move boxes to building homes and laying out tracks to later in the game even being Uber services for the player. What's great about this is there's a slow progression as Pokemon moves forward. They're not only showing you that it's okay to have animals with powers as slaves, but they're making you complicit in it, like Melania Trump.
what about unions?
Game Freak was very clear with us, we're not allowed to broach that subject.
Wait, they paid you?
I have nothing to say.
Fuck. First, I didn't get my Soros checks for all the Trump rallies that crashed. Now I'm not getting shit for shilling for Game Freak. Okay. So we've talked about Pokemon as pets. We've talked about Pokemon as labor. Now we have to go into the seedier location, which is, of course, Pokemon as waifus. Because someone's going to fucking... Yeah, hey, how'd you know the next slide? Look, it's the next slide. You fucking called it. Because whoever designed that went, I want to make a Pokemon I could fuck later. And they did that.
Where did you find that image?
Huh?
Where did you find that image?
Yeah, I had to Google image search Gardevoir fan art.
Was it like a little thing in like Gardevoir's Pokédex that...
We're getting to some things. I mean, it's not okay. We're not done with the Pokemon as waifus bit yet, but the thing is, most of you see this as a perfectly acceptable sexual partner, which is really weird because you've gone so low that like even 2D girls are rejecting you. So you're going to things that you can tame and keep as slaves. Don't do that. And I mean, if you are going to go with what?
I just remember, like, recently I recalled reading a description about Mr. Mime. How sometimes he takes...
He's my favorite.
He takes place in the
Huh? Oh yeah, he definitely is. Mr. Mime is a great substitute father. Okay, so the thing is, if you're going to go with animated female characters for waifus, I strongly recommend Sarah from The Land Before Time. She's the OG tsundere. Prove me wrong. Yeah, and that's an adult. Okay, you know what? You've seen anime. You know how this shit goes. None of you have standards. Sarah from The Land Before Time.
You have a question?
Oh yeah, it definitely is. Well, okay, so here's the thing. So we're gonna go into that. So, now I know what you're saying. Pokemon as waifus is some perverted thing the fans came up with and isn't canon. Kind of wrong. So there once were, these are in-game texts. There once were Pokemon that married people. There once were people who married Pokemon. This was a normal thing because long ago people and Pokemon were the same. I don't blame you. Hey, there's some seats. That's nice. So that's pretty damning. And it's not something they retconned later. They leaned into it. Here's the creation tree from Pokemon. And if you know, people are in there. So when am I going to get to level up and learn, like, Sand Attack or Body Slam? I'm just kind of disappointed. I mean, I don't think we could. That doesn't seem up our alley for TMs. And to really cement the point, here's a picture of Ash making out with Latias.
Oh, I forgot. That's true.
That's good. You should forget those movies. Okay, wait. No, it's canon if I say so. What? My mom was pretty good at that. Okay. Here we go.
Well, okay, so outside of Pokemon as pets, slave labor, and waifus, they're also a wonderful weapon. If you look at most of them, they look adorable, but essentially you're asking a small creature that could burn you, maim you, or otherwise choke or strangle you to be your best friend. Which is great because much like PG&E in rural California, you just trust them without thinking until something goes wrong, and then suddenly they're gone.
I mean, I thought we gave them a second chance, and they.
No.
What about this Pokemon? That doesn't seem very fire
PG&E
starter-y.
doesn't know about that Pokemon.
Are they illegal? Okay, so let's tie it all together. So let's tie it all together. So Pokemon are sentient weapons that we are taught to welcome into our home and love maybe a little too much. Which seems to indicate to me only one thing, that Pokemon is actually a propaganda tool created by the NRA to promote not only gun ownership among children, but for some reason, gunflation. Don't do that. Guns are bad, okay? Yeah, let's not. I forgot. I had like minutes and I forgot what all they were. But Pokedex check. This is Macargo. Cargo is about 2.5 feet tall and weighs 121 pounds, making him heavy enough that if he put on a couple extra pounds, he'd probably be one of the black holes Gardevoir created. His body temperature is 18,000 degrees Fahrenheit. For context, that is twice the sun. So this thing's just, wandering around, starting forest fires for PG&E. This really brings in some questions regarding, this screenshot from the anime. I think she'd be kind of dead and on fire. And the floor would probably be melted, but I don't actually use Photoshop, so instead here's a picture of the guy who melts from sky high. Just imagine him as the floor.
Max, to be fair, that image of the child is actually a live screenshot from the state legislature hugging PG&E after the first big fire.
Yes. Oh, that's dangerous.
If it's twice the heat of the sun, wouldn't the entire world be caught on fire?
I didn't do that much research. What, Max?
So this is, of course, assuming that this world has the same temperatures as ours.
I think that's a safe assumption to make. They are humans.
As far as we
I'm going to stop taking questions. We're into demographics now. I'll take limited questions. Okay, so we're going to talk about the cities and people that make up Kanto, because a world is only as fleshed out as the people who someone painfully had to draw into. So here's Pallet Town. I am under the impression that Pallet Town is like the Marin to Cinnabar Island, San Francisco, because Cinnabar Island has no housing and a lot of tech jobs, so everyone who lives there has to pay like $5,000 to sleep on a couch on the street. And Pallet Town was like, well, we have houses, but we don't want your poor people. So they built a wall around it, and they only kept 2 houses, because if there are only 2 houses, then housing prices go up and everyone's rich. So really, you also have the tech jobs. Oaks Lab moved up there because there wasn't enough space. And that's Glassdoor now in Petaluma. So cool. You can tell where we're from.
One thing of note is that, as far as we can tell from the games, there's no place that Professor Oak could have realistically gotten accredited from, which makes us wonder if this is kind of a Moltres Online situation, and he's only kind of a professor.
I think everyone missed your Phoenix University joke.
I think so, too. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, here's Viridian City. It's that place you go on the road to. My primary issue with Viridian City is, given it's the entrance to the Pokemon League, you'd figure that the city would be of note, but instead it has one house that they shove 28 people into, a school run by a guy who can't do anything, who, whenever he doesn't get his coffee, rolls on the ground and doesn't let anyone leave, and a gym full of trainers. So when I did these demographic breakdowns, I counted trainers in gyms as employed, which means my best guess for how Viridian City works is it's basically a city run by Giovanni's gym, and those trainers are surrogate Team Rocket grunts who extort the rest of the innocent townsfolk for I don't know what, because what do they produce?
The other issue with Viridian City is that you can see there's a lot of attention spent on trees. The fences make no earthly sense. They seem to be encasing the trees, which immediately made us wonder what the fuck is in the trees, and is it trying to devour the city? This will be a reoccurring theme, by the way.
Oh, it won't. This is the only city with trees. Okay, here's Pewter City. Pewter City is the same size as Viridian, because why not just have all the cities be the same size? So what really bugs me about Pewter City is that one of the signs there, which I don't know who built these signs, but that's a whole other question. Where's the sign maker live? No.
He lives underground.
Okay, sure, why not? So one of the signs says, "Look out, Team Rocket stealing Pokemon. Please contact Pewter City Police." Where the fuck's the police department? We have 2 homes, Poke Center, Pokemon Gym, a museum, and then a second wing to the museum full of creepy scientists who worship some amber. My theory is, of course, that flower garden is where the police station was until Team Rocket came in, burned it down, and built a lovely flower garden. And said, if you ever report us again, that's going to be your gym.
Pewter City also notably has a wonderful museum that has a goddamn space shuttle in it. As far as we can tell from the canon that we cited, there's no earthly way they made that space shuttle, which has us wondering if either A, the Clefairies are far more terrifying than we thought they were, or B, people got dumb and nobody remembers how to do anything.
Next, we have Cerulean City. It's another city. So Cerulean City has a cop, and the cop just kind of hangs out in front of that house. And because there's, again, where's the fucking police station? I am under the impression that that cop is not an official cop, but is instead an intricate cosplayer who has convinced everyone in Cerulean City that A, police officers are real, and B, she is one of them, so then she can voyeuristically stare inside people's homes. Addendum, where are all the doors? How do you get into homes? My idea is, of course, that doors in this universe are removable, so if you don't want anyone breaking into your house, you just pull the door down and put it inside, which would make locking yourself out even more difficult and inconvenient.
It's all basic norm.
I mean, everything we're doing is straight out of the strategy guide so far. We haven't strayed from this one bit.
And actually, just like the strategy guy says, look at the trees. They seem to be taking over the fences, and it's totally not because Game Freak got lazy with their own sprites. And we honestly wonder why they're trying to box in the city, which makes us again wonder, are the trees trying to take over the world?
Next, we have Vermilion City. Cool. So I believe that Vermilion City is the Florida of Kanto. Because A, it's coastal. That's a Florida thing. But B, see that like foundation area? That's where a guy, presumably in a wife beater, is sitting watching his Machop just stomp down ground to build a foundation for his home. Now, he was doing that when I first got the game 20 years ago, and he's still doing that today. So it can only wager that he's just some Florida guy who gets off on watching Machops stomp Earth, which is the weirdest fetish I've ever heard of. Just bring back Gardevoirs.
Now, I don't know if any of you have ever lost a home to PG&E, because that
I have.
totally hasn't happened recently. But this is clearly an example of a post-wildfire devastation situation. The insurance is taking 20 years to get back to them because they didn't itemize everything they owned or take photos of their doors, hence the buildings that don't have doors. And really, they can't afford much because the insurance isn't really going to cover them for the cost of living because, of course, there's a loophole. So it's kind of a sad state of affairs.
Next, we have Lavender Town. Lavender Town is inexplicably the third largest city in the Pokemon games, though it's a town. My genius research has discovered that there are towns if they don't have gyms, and there are cities if they do, which actually makes more sense than the current delineation between cities and towns, which is whatever we feel like calling ourselves. So 36 people live here. They're almost all in a tall building. Now, Lavender Tower is a Pokemon graveyard. It's nice that they had that attention to detail to have somewhere for Gary to bury his Raticate after I thoroughly destroyed it. The thing, though, is I don't understand the logistics of going up 8 flights of stairs to bury a Gyarados. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. And then there's a whole cult in the tower that worships the ghosts of the dead Pokemon. Like, Lavender Tower is kind of scary, and I'm afraid they're like one pair of Nike shoes and some Kool-Aid away from just all dying. Which probably happened between the first and second games, when they renovated a graveyard into a radio tower.
I mean, to be fair, Max has just clearly never properly buried somebody before. As we all know, if you really care about them, you hire a cult to come up to the 8th floor of any building, and you put the remains where they're not supposed to be, like a refrigerator or a coffee maker, preferably something that people use.
We just left her urn on a desk until the house burned down. Don't worry, she lives on here because I breathed in her ashes. Oh.
Moving away from that, the other interesting thing about Lavender Town is that it has the one single most interesting superpower, or at least character, in the game, and that is the person who can change names. Now, we've all done this before. We catch our first Pidgey or Rattata, and we think, oh, wouldn't it be great to call them something like Little Fucker or Disappointment or Sudden Shame. But as the game...
That's too many characters. You can't fit Sudden Shame in there.
You're just not getting creative. But as the game goes on, you start to realize that really what you've done is create a scenario where a joke just gets older and older and older. So you find the one man who can literally change the identity of any Pokemon or character at will, which is amazing because this makes him the only lawyer in the whole of the Pokemon region. He can change an identity on his own. We're all lucky he hasn't stolen everyone's identity by now.
Next, we have Celadon City. This is the biggest city in the Kanto region, which leads me to be confused why they decided that's where they should put the leper colony. So you see that little lake, and there's a dock and a house without a door and a wall, and there's a guy there. And presumably he's very sick and contagious. And instead of, banishing him somewhere like Johto where they aren't even people, they left him there to, he'll be safe and not get anyone sick. Now, I know what you're saying. He's probably just the first person who figured out how to soft boil eggs, and they thought it was witchcraft, so they trapped him on the island. No, he is a leper.
The other interesting thing about Celadon City is it has the only hotel we could find. The interesting thing about the hotel is it's actually a PTSD support center. You see, if you go into the hotel, there are no rooms. It's some food and hallways. And if you think about what every 10-year-old is going through in the Pokemon world, they take a walk and they're immediately mugged by people with Pokemon trying to take their money. So you need a place where you can walk in a straight line and no one tries to take something from you.
Next, we have Saffron City. Saffron City is the only city with an appropriate number of homes for the population. But it doesn't make any sense because it's supposed to be the commercial hub of the Kanto region, but it's landlocked. Like, wouldn't one of the coastal cities make sense as a commercial hub, like Vermilion that has a port? But no, it's Saffron for some goddamn reason. There are 50 people there. There are 81 or something before you fumigate Silphco of all the rockets and scientists, because education is for sissies. But my real issue is that they have 2 gyms, and I don't know which one's the real thing. My theory is that the more gym-like a gym is, the more accredited it should be. And they fucked that up, because the accredited gym in Saffron City is the psychic gym. But really, the fighting gym should be accredited, because not only do you fight other Pokemon, you can then fight the other trainers, because you're doing martial arts. I can't even do that right.
Also, you'll notice no trees. Yeah, we're gonna keep doing that.
That's it?
It's getting old, I know.
Okay, here's Fuchsia City. No, those aren't trees, those are splotches. So I take back what I said about Vermilion City. Fuchsia City is the real Florida of Kanto. It's coastal-ish. I mean, not so coastal that it's a useful port city. But see that little like swimming pool behind the fences in the backyard? Yeah, you can catch Gyarados in there. Meaning you can with Super Rod. You can catch Gyarados in there. Which means that the game warden who lives in that home goes swimming with sea monsters in his swimming pool. What's more Florida than that? And after he does it, he just goes on up to his zoo and throws shit at his animals. He is the embodiment of Florida. No, Scotland, you know the Nest Monster isn't real, right?
You're not real.
I know that. Though, Lake Tahoe's Loch Ness ripoff, totally real, even if I don't know what it's called.
The other...
Who? Tessie. Okay, do you want a prize? You get. I made an art. Do you want an art? No, okay. No.
What's more Florida is that the fact that you can fit a Gyarados in the pool.
Oh yeah, that's probably a pretty deep pool.
Yeah. Probably have to go.
Now, the other interesting thing about Fuchsia City is that it is right underneath the Safari Zone, which I don't know if any of you are that much into conservation, but the interesting thing about the Safari Zone is that you can catch as many Pokemon as you want, you just can't fight each other. Which is a little bit like saying, we're trying to preserve the animals, so shoot as many as you want. Just be nice about it.
Sorry. Okay, here's Cinnabar. Where does everyone live?
Nowhere.
So Cinnabar has a gym, a Poké Center, a Pokemart, a lab full of people willing to trade you shitty Pokemon for slightly less shitty Pokemon, and then a single mansion that someone burned down probably because everyone else was jealous that that person had a home and they didn't. And now it's just full of a bunch of burglars who presumably just rob each other in some weird circle jerk.
Also, don't forget that there's a whole bunch of scientists there with no place to live, which made us wonder if this isn't where cloning was invented, and they're just killing them at night and rebooting them in the morning.
And also, I don't see any trees there, Blake.
It's the last bastion.
Okay. So, okay, so now that we've dissected each city thoroughly, we're going to dissect the region less thoroughly. Primarily, I want to bitch about Cycling Road. Ignoring the fact that, like, who paid for that? Because who the fuck paid for that? They went, okay, we want to build a road to increase connectivity in Kanto. We're going to build it out from Fuchsia City. It's like, well, we could do Pallet Town. That makes a lot of sense. Or we could just have it go up to Vermilion. That also makes a lot of sense. And like, no, fuck that shit. Sell it on. But then it's not going to have a through route to Viridian, so then you have to go through Celadon and Saffron and Cerulean and Mount Moon, which you can't even get to through Cerulean because the cliffs are too steep. It's dumb. Beyond that, Vermilion City is the port city. There's the SSN. And that bridge is not a drawbridge, and it's not particularly high up. So just like, Vermilion City just trade with itself. Like, people are like, okay, I'm going to send out my goods. And they like go out to the bridge, dump everything in the bay, go back. Yeah, we did it. Good job, everybody. Cool. Doesn't make any sense. And that's excluding the fact that they decided cyclists only when a bicycle costs $1 million, which is just like, it's a pay road. Okay, so Pokemon's for the rich. Okay, I get it now.
Oh, also, I'd like everybody to look closely at the map, and I've got a few questions. Where do they get their fresh water? where are things made? And more importantly, how is there only one power plant and that power plant's overrun by Pokemon, which I can only imagine is what happens when unions try to form in the Pokemon world. How is public works handled? The whole map looks like Disneyland, but meant for adults. I'm a little scared.
Okay, so now that we've bitched about the world, we're gonna bitch about the people in it. So we were trying to figure out, like, what are the demographics of the Pokemon world, and most of the people you can talk to in the cities, you don't know much about them. You can ideally figure out if they're a boy or a girl based on their sprite. That's about it. You can't figure out their age, profession, anything. So the closest we can get to a demographic breakdown of the Pokemon world is, of course, a rapid-fire round of us making fun of all the trainer types. So this is the beauty. She's okay, I guess. Really, the best thing about her is she's not in the Gen 5 games, making her officially the best trainer in the series.
Where did Biker get his bike? Did he steal it from the museum, and how is it powered?
This is the Bird Keeper. Because in a world with fire-breathing dragons, why not collect something lamer than a parrot? Not only that, he uses cages instead of Pokeballs and looks like he buys his clothes at Home Depot.
It's really great to see the senior citizens still working when they didn't save enough for retirement.
This is Bugcatcher. This is an obvious self-insert from the creator, since he said that this game was based on his childhood of catching bugs in the wild. I would like to know how many drugs he was taking while catching those bugs.
More normal in Japan.
Catching bugs or fighting people with bugs?
We know we're drowning, don't worry.
Because
You can leave with
drugs. Because I mean, I caught bugs all the time as a kid, but I didn't, fight my brother with them. Yes, Mario.
Bug wars.
Or Toad. I don't care.
You should invest in beetle fighting.
They can catch big, huge beetles and actually fight them.
This whole team should.
That's cool. I just caught newts. Wait, where are we at? Oh, I hit the wrong buttons. Cool, burglar. Did I say you could sit down?
Let's just be grateful they're staying. Okay.
What's wrong
Burglar's
with all of you?
Burglar's wonderful because it's Danny DeVito.
Yeah, what's he doing here? This is the Channeler. She's part of a death cult and worships ghost Pokemon, even though there's like only one of those. What the fuck's wrong with her? I'm creeped out.
They're too cool for this con, and let's face it, we're never going to be as good as them.
So I have a message for all the cue balls here. The cool jobs aren't coming back. Please move out of West Virginia and join modern society.
So I've already covered that the one power plant in the whole region was taken over by Pokemon because of the evils of unions. And this is what happens. A wonderful engineer is now out of work and slumming for Pokemon money.
No, Dad, I don't really want to go fishing. This guy looks pretty fucking confident for the fact that he's just packing 6 magic carps.
No, next.
He's dressed pretty nice. Where is he going? It's kind of weird. He's just like, I'm going to go battle small children with monsters in a suit. Yeah. We don't want rich people in Kanto.
So we're going to be honest, before we did this panel, Max and I both thought that the hiker character had a crutch and that he was just ill-suited for his name. But once we got the sprite, we realized he has a giant pickaxe and a creepy smile, so we're just afraid of him.
I mean, yeah, sure, he has the big beard and the weight like all of you, but I don't want to say that about him because he might kill me. His junior trainers, they fit in here a lot better. She's doing the Kamehameha wave, and he's getting ready to run like Naruto.
So Juggler is the rebound guy that your mom brings home after the divorce. She says that he's just playful, but you know that later that night he's going to show up in your room with Mr. Mime.
Lass is too innocent for this world.
Get a job.
So, I'm confused with the psychic whether or not the jacket is too big or the person is too small, or if we have like a Vincent Adult Man situation where it's several kids on top of each other. Or, if the Abra is actually controlling the psychic as a vessel, kind of like, what was it, Starro? Or
Yes, Starro from Superman.
Starro from Superman. Yeah, those are all my questions. There are a lot of them. We should do a panel on the psychic.
why is the rocker here? There's very little reference to music in Pokemon, and we have a character who's got, I guess it's a mic and a cord to no amp.
Can't even play Wonderwall. This is Team Rocket Grunt. They capture and steal rare and valuable Pokemon, yet all they use are Rattatas and Zubats, which indicates they're either very bad at their job or very good at their job. Ah. Yeah, he also has a whip. He's into some kinky shit. That's a gimp suit. I know you're thinking it's not, but that's a gimp suit. He's handing you the whip. Daddy.
The sailor is proof that there is a navy in the Pokemon world, and my only question is, who are they fighting?
I don't know where the scientist got accredited. Or, why he looks like he just is angry to be alive. I think he's an incel. Oh, this is probably one too.
So what's great about the Super Nerd is it's essentially a representation of many of the gamers, a lost generation that's not looking for work, education, or to get out of their mother's basement.
You should consider
That's
rising
neat.
up.
No. I think we're good. I didn't know Michael Phelps was in this game, but I'm really glad to see that he's still getting product deals. We don't care how long this joke goes, we're committed to it.
Yet another character with a whip, but now a lollipop. I just want to find his van.
And the youngster, of course, looks like that kid who listens to Eminem to be tough, but dances the Carlton because that's what his mom taught him. So we've broken down the demographics of Pokemon, and from that there are 28 trainer types, 24 male and 6 female. That's because there are a couple that are both. And child and adult adds up to 1 extra because I'm really not sure where Psychic falls on that. From the 28, we determined about 6 of those trainer types are employed, meaning the vast majority of the population in Kanto is wandering vagrants. So this is the population pyramid of the United States. How population pyramids work is it's just like this is how many people in millions are in each age bracket, in each gender. This isn't a great one, but it looks better than some. Based on what we've found through Pokemon, this is what their population pyramid looks like. Which, as you can tell, a little worse. That is like oil rig in Alaska.
That's why they need God of Wars.
You're right, that is why they need Gardevoirs. That is, do you want some art? That was a good comment. No one likes my art. I should be insulted. Huh? No. You have to earn it. Oh gosh. Are there enough sword boys in Smash yet? I'm upset about this. Okay, Pokedex check 3. I know, right? I submitted a Waluigi panel and they didn't fucking give it to me.
Oh!
I know, right? It's the time. It's the year of Waluigi.
The only one that matters.
I mean, I know. That's fine. I'm waiting for them to let me submit panels. Like, talk about Alakazam.
We had really a simple comment about Alakazam, which is, why is he at all catchable? He's a psychic Pokemon that can teleport almost at will. We're just wondering if he's not running the show, given how the psychic works.
Why would he want that?
Which means,
Wait. They don't know. We have to go into Pokeballs before they commit to that comment. So Pokeballs are a pretty important part of, and this is kind of, I guess, what you all imagine a Pokeball is like. It shrinks the Pokemon down, and then this nice custom habitat, and that's fucking wrong. Blake, how do Pokeballs work?
so Pokeballs are actually death scanners. You see, how the Pokeball works is after you've beaten the small cuddly creature into submission, you then throw this device at it, and it proceeds to scan the creature, download its genome, its stats, what sad memories it had right before it passed out, and then it breaks apart the creature as it scans it to turn it into digital data, because Digimon and Digimon are the champions. And from there, it stores that creature. So every time you go into battle and you're about to throw out your wonderful Charmander that you've probably renamed 3 times because of the lawyer, you think, oh, I'm throwing out my buddy. The problem is every time you throw that out, it's a new copy. It's essentially going control P every time. And when you go to return that creature, because you're too lazy to form a connection with it, you're just killing it again. The Pokeball does record memories so that it thinks it's living one life, but really, every Pokemon is just an infinite copy of one original that died a tragic, sad death.
That's why Heart Gold is the best Pokemon.
Sure. Now, the other important thing about this is the Bill's PC system, which is actually fucking genius. So, you catch more than 6 Pokemon because you got a little too excited about Rattata early in the game, or Pidgey, thinking, oh, it's rare. No. And so...
Oh, you're dumb.
So now you've got 20 Pokemon, 6 of which are valuable, the rest of which you're never going to touch again. So you go to store that in your PC. You are literally storing that data in what amounts to a massive banking system that you can pull at will from anywhere in the Pokemon world, which is kind of brilliant, except here's the thing. You're essentially giving your Pokemon over to Facebook. They own the data, you're just subscribing, and you're getting infinite copies. And the creepier thing about it is they've already coded every genome. They're not even really scanning that. They've already done that. Now, this is the world that I would like to point out has a space shuttle in a museum because they can't fathom what it did. Yet, they're able to essentially break down Pokemon at will, kill them, copy them, and then spit them out all over the world.
So what are the components of a Pokeball? They are a storage device, a 3D printer, a cloning machine, and a death ray. I guess they're also like a 4G receiver and transmitter, but I didn't want to put that in the slide. So that's a lot of technology for a Pokeball, right? You're supposed to say, yeah, Max, it is. Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad we agree. Why the fuck are they so cheap? Where do they make them? We went over the world map. There's no industry, and the power station is shut down. Beyond where are they powering the servers for Bill's PC? And I know what you're saying, well, $200 in game, that might be different than like, you know, a direct yen comparison. No, you're wrong. I know that because there are real world things you can buy in the game to use as a price point, like water, which costs the same as a small ball that when it makes contact with a Pokemon, but not a human, which are Pokemon, which we've established, it scans their DNA, vaporizes them, transmits that data over to a PC system, and then when it lands on the ground again, it receives that data, codes it, and then clones out a copy. And it does that every time, and it's reusable. That's a lot of hands. I don't care. Mostly because I don't know what our time's at. Like, we're at in our pants.
Hey, what about Pokemon that escape from the ball before you catch them?
Oh yeah, that's because so that means, like, empirically speaking, the most expensive part of a Pokeball is the death ray. And the death ray is better in more expensive Pokeballs. So, like, an Ultra Ball is a better death ray than a Pokeball. Everything else is the same. Okay, yeah.
Are you saying a Master Ball literally kills them one shot?
Yeah, the Master Ball is like the nuke.
The more expensive the ball, the better the death rate.
Yeah, go.
What about the luxury and festival?
I don't care.
All that your price point points out is they have no source of fresh water, like you said.
Huh? Yeah. It might be. I mean, who cares? That's this is a real world comparison. This is what we got.
It's like $2.
Yeah.
Why does the death ray work better at night with the dust ball?
I don't know. Someone coded it wrong.
So this is a little bit like a chip outsourcing issue.
So are those in the strategy guide? They aren't, so they're not canon. There's a reason I brought my sources. Okay. We'll ignore that. Obviously, this is for Fire Red Leaf Green.
To be fair, they do bring up death ray a lot in that book.
Okay, so yeah, that's all the fucking book is. I was gonna give it away, and then I realized I could sell it on Amazon for $30, and no. So now this opens up a lot of questions. Not just why are Pokeballs the same cost as a bottle of water, and why soda pop costs more when in our world a bottle of soda costs the same as a bottle of water most places you go. Now, lemonade costing more makes sense. If you want good lemonade at the gas station, you have to pay a little extra for that. But the real question is, where are they getting the fucking lemons? Think about it. So if you look at the Pokemon games, starting with second generation, you get like Poison Cure Berry, which doesn't exist in our world, Paralyzed Cure Berry, Lepa Berry, Apricorns, all this shit that's not real. But lemons are. I have a theory. Cave Johnson did it. What happened was life gave him those fucking lemons. And in an attempt to burn down Life's house with the lemons, that's where he invented the portal gun. But what happened was it didn't open up to his dimension yet, because it's the first time he ever fired one, and it opened up to Kanto. And he just threw all the fucking lemons in there. And now it is an endless supply of lemons falling into someone's backyard. And that one enterprising individual has decided to open up a lemonade business. And that is how I believe lemons got to Kanto. But I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about weird pricing. So speaking about things that are weird, why do potions cost 50% more than Pokeballs when all they really are is water infused with Neosporin in a spray bottle? Right? It's weird. No. I lost them on the lemons. Oh yeah. So, where the fuck they make that shit? So, and yeah, again, where the fuck did they make that shit? So that also really, our Pokeball explanation only covers the past 10 or so years of Pokemon lore, because Bill's not that old. So the PC system couldn't have been around that long. So I know that Apricorns are a thing in the Pokemon games. You can make balls out of them. I guess the theory is people could, take the apricorn, hollow it out, put it in a device that could do all the Pokeball stuff. So let's think about the logistics of that device again. They've been doing this for like 700 years canonically. And while there isn't a lot of info from Jackie Chan from this series, of course, in Jackie Chan Adventures 700 years ago, there weren't computers. And as we all know, that's our foundation. So within these apricorns, they have the depth scanner, the normal scanner, the 3D printer, the cloning machine, and now backup data that holds information on the genome of all 150 Pokemon. How the fuck do they fit that in a ball like that big?
So I have a theory that ties all this together and involves trees and PG&E. So we know that the apricorn go back 400 to 700 years or so. But we also know that currently there are only two big companies that make most Pokeballs. You've got Silphco and Devon Corporation. So the implication here is that 400 to 700 years ago, knowledge was very common. There was education. Scientists were accredited from universities that were easily visible and easy to find within the map. And that space shuttle probably made a whole lot more sense. So our theory is that 400 to 700 years ago, there was a bit of a great cataclysm. The two corporations involved wanted to corner the market. So they hatched a plan in combination with the trees, PG&E, which at the time was a small regional utility that really wanted to avoid having to clear brush or any kind of trees so that, it could protect homes from possible forest fires. And of course, Bill, who really wanted to corner the market on storing data because, pay-as-you-go is fine and nobody should own anything. So they came together to do what really PG&E and the trees do best. They firebombed most of the map, destroying most of the, I really hate PG&E and I'm going to double down a lot. So they firebombed most of the map, destroying most of the universities, most of the centers of education, science, a lot of the homes. That's why they double up. The trees, which, because other Pokemon in the universe have already shown us this, are rock type, then came in and filled that area to hold that territory permanently. And they were able to go from there and corner the market on manufacturing, education, and knowledge, with most characters not knowing much who survived. Which is why 400 to 700 years later, you have two companies dominating the Pokeball market, and Mothers thinks it's perfectly fine to send their 10-year-old out into the wilderness with a Pokemon that their creepy semi-uncle-like character gave them, who just wanted to bang their mom, because there's no education for them to get anyway.
Pokedex check. South America isn't real. Okay, so we're going to explain economics now.
That was Max saying that.
Actually, I don't think I need to explain economics. I already did that in a panel like 2 years ago. I used Tiger and Bunny. So, if you weren't here for political theory and anime, that's fine. That was a shitty fucking panel. So I'm going to go into economics, which I don't know if I've actually dry ran this part. So let's see how this goes. The economy in the Pokemon world is garbage. I think we can all agree on that. It's basically this. It's people going around with animals, beating each other's animals up for money. So basically you just go around, you find the weakest looking kid, you beat him up, you take his lunch money. And that's how money changes hands. There aren't jobs. We went over this. There aren't fucking jobs. Most of those people are just trainers that work in gyms. Otherwise, it's Pokemart workers and Poke Center workers. Those don't count. Those are like wage jobs.
What about scientists?
They don't do anything. They all left Silphco after you took them out. So they're not even real scientists. So this is the economy. It's kind of a shit show. The real question, of course, is where does the money come from? Because in this situation, what you do is you have a kid who gets lunch money from their parents. Someone beats them up, takes the lunch money, then goes to a Pokemart and spends that money, and then the money presumably stays at the Pokemart. But that doesn't really make sense because they're clearly selling Pokeballs at a loss. So they're poor too. So my theory is that there is a Federal Reserve cabal run by some Meowths, and they produce the official currency in the Pokemon world. And when your Meowth uses Payday, it's actually a knockoff currency, and you just get a little bit of money out of it because you're selling it to a shady Pokemart dealer, basically. So it has a low conversion rate.
So all Meowth can talk.
No. None of them can, but they still run the Federal Reserve because when it comes down to it, what has Lance done for Kanto lately? Team Rocket runs roughshed over this shit. We got this. I can go around and sell magic cards for 500, whatever the fuck, and no one's gonna stop me. So yeah, no, Meowth, Team Rocket runs this shit. Lance can't do anything. Meowth are the economic backbone. Talk about Poke Centers, Blake.
Okay, so you'll notice something fun about the Pokemon world, which is there are no hospitals for people, but there are Poke Centers. Now, we've established that Pokemon are constantly killed and created upon use, so there's no point for this. You hurt the Pokemon, it returns, it comes out refreshed, great. However, if you think about everything that these ill-educated children are going through, they're probably being burned, maimed, and a handful of other things, and quite frankly, we've already established that people are Pokemon. It's our belief that the Poke Centers are simply an implanted memory. These children are dying. You know, they had a bad situation with a Charmander. Most of their body is 80% scar tissue. They've crawled to what they think is a hospital. They get in there, and of course, they don't want to remember that. That's horrible. Your flesh is melting. The smell alone would be bad. No.
I feel sorry for Nurse Joy.
Nurse Joy's not real either. It's all
That's
implanted.
probably true.
So they come to the hospital. They copy the child's from its original DNA, kill the child because, dear God, and then they replace it with a perfectly functional child who doesn't remember any of that and thinks that it was helping its Pokemon out of the goodness of its heart.
From there, back to Pokemarts, they still don't make sense. We went over how they're obviously selling everything at a loss, but how does supply chains work in Kanto? Because there's not really any route infrastructure going on here. There are no roads. The only truck is a figment of your imagination hiding a Mew. So, and Pokemarts have feasibly, I guess theoretically unlimited supply since you can go and buy infinite Pokeballs. It's not like, I don't know, Persona 5 where I go and buy one thing of flan and then they're sold out of flan for the next 6 months. But I need that flan because how else am I going to win Makoto's heart? No? Okay, that's fine. Pokedex check number 5. No, I mean, who's the right girl? I mean, Yusuke's the right girl, but they won't let me romance her, so him. No. She's swimming for the swim.
Okay, so had we had more time to playtest this before we did this, I would have moved this slide up because my tree jokes would have made a little bit more sense. So, Sudoku,
Pseudo-wudo.
Sudoku, whatever.
10-10 puzzle.
Has some
Look,
interesting
it's word
qualities.
search.
I'm sorry, Max, yes. Has interesting
Crossword puzzle.
Max, calm down.
Maze.
Has notable qualities which...
No one likes you, Blake.
Word rumble.
Max, I'll take your hat again.
I'll be good.
Okay.
Take his hat. I want to see what happens.
No. He gets real sad. No, so its notable qualities
I'll learn cut.
include being a rock-type Pokemon who, interestingly, can't be burned down by a PG&E power pole, and is leader of the trees. All the trees you see in this game are just, I'm going to say his name wrong again, Sudokus, who are trying to take over and establish dominance as the primary species in the Kanto region. So, quite frankly, they need PG&E's help to expand their territory, and they have no fear of PG&E.
So with that, that's all we had. I have more panels if you were entertained here for some fucking reason. 5th Gen is in Pokemon is at 2 p.m. on Saturday. I know that panel slightly better. At 12:30 p.m. on Sunday, we have Make Anime Great Again. If you want to make anime great again, because anime's shit now. Also, our friends...
Always shit. What are you talking about? Anime's always
No, it's not. Yu Hakusho's the pinnacle of artistic achievement. An Indie Gamer's Guide to Marketing is at 4 on Saturday. That's not me, but my friend's giving it. And if a lot of people go, then I can take credit for it and remind him of that. And also, I'm going to ask him to do a Fortnite dance. And then at 2 p.m. on Sunday, there's Utilizing Local Cons to promote your game. That's cool. You can follow me on Twitter at 5th Gen, not PKMN. Or you can subscribe to us on YouTube, where all of our panels are at 5th Gen, not Pokemon. And with that, unless someone wants to kick me out, I will field questions and give away artistic prizes if your question is good enough. They're not artistic. Yes. Okay, not you.
Also,
I don't blame you for leaving. I would too. Oh God, you had so many questions.
I'm a very reasonable person. Anyways, what's your favorite episode of Game Theory?
I don't have one. The one where I'm not watching Game Theorist. But you can get an art if you want an art, because you asked too many. Yes.
Who thinks Magikarp is the best Pokemon in the world?
Nobody.
Yes! Strongest Pokemon!
I mean, you can sweep someone with
Pokemon.
that thing. No, I mean, I'd poison you, but the Mountain Dew and the Doritos did it for me.
I mean, Beedrill is pretty
To
much
be fair,
crap.
Magikarp is like the trust fund baby of the Pokemon world. He has the most potential and the most going for him, and all he can do is lay there.
Why can't you use Fly on Beedrill?
That's a really good question.
You couldn't teach it to Charizard in red and blue.
I know.
It's wait for yellow. Yeah.
You finally accepted Denny's as the true.
You get the fuck out! I mean, I felt pretty betrayed by International House of Burgers. I flipped over to Pancake King. They're my
Also,
waifu restaurant now.
before more of you leave, I just want to say thank you for being a wonderful first panel audience.
Congratulations, Blake. We stole your panel virginity. That's disgusting. Why would you say that? In
I
the
like
back.
being nice to people.
If Pokemon are killed, what's the release feature in PC?
Oh, that's when you delete it. You wipe them from your hard drive.
Yeah.
In the back, in the corner.
How come we got 6 East?
We got what? I don't even know the fuck that is. Because it is. I said so. That's the next panel. Yeah.
How has the use of payday not caused massive inflation in the world of Pokemon?
I already went over that. That's obviously counterfeit money, and it's only accepted by shady Pokemon dealers.
Do you believe Charizard is a dragon type?
Yes. Take an art.
Absolutely.
Toad.
I got a hot theory on Viridian City. There's all the trees and the fences. They're like not enough houses for it. It's not a cover business. The whole town is a cover. Those aren't trees in that fenced off area.
What are they?
What do you think, man?
Drugs?
Yes.
Okay. Blake, I think he should replace you. He's clearly more into this than you are.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
How did Bill turn himself into an Eevee?
Well, he just, they already solved the whole Pokemon genome thing, so he just fucking went 50-50 on that shit. Sword Boy.
Alright, so if they have the technology to replicate
No.
data, why couldn't they just use that same technology and make the distant Pokemon look better and transfer over?
That's a really good question. I don't know. That's why this is a Gen 1 panel.
Because they're not there to make you happy. They're there for their own profits.
If they were there to make me happy, they wouldn't have made it. Max.
Alright, this question is a two-parter. First off...
That's too many parts. Can I have 0?
I have a really short attention span.
Okay, so first off...
Do you have any drugs?
Where are we?
Okay.
Which Rush
I'm
Hour
listening.
movie is the best, and how does that fit into the Jackie Chan Adventures canon?
Yeah, there's like 3.
Yeah.
They just do everything.
Oh, I see. Make a comment and run. Great. Yeah.
Cowards.
Okay.
I thought you were Team Magma Grunt, and I was really excited because Team Aqua sucks.
Fight me!
There's too much water in Hoenn. They don't need more water. Okay, fine. You can get the last art.
I knew
I was rooting for you personally,
you would
but
accept me.
he doesn't like happiness. So.
Okay, so how do the Rush Hour movies fit into the Jackie Chan cinematic universe? Because literally any movie with Jackie Chan fits into it de facto. Every piece of art Jackie Chan has ever been in is so expertly crafted that just seamlessly inserting it into the canon of another one requires absolutely no work whatsoever. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad we don't have any more questions. Just a bunch of people who are sitting here hoping I'll insult them.
Are you sure there aren't any more questions?
I mean, I'm sure.
We've implied that Pokeballs are evil death machines. Come on.